What's up, guys? 2024 season, we're back. It's only preseason, but I'm itching to talk about football. So I watched every snap of Anthony Richardson's performance last night against the Bengals. Woof. Look, I wasn't high on him coming out of Florida. You can check out my YouTube video breaking down every single trait on why I don't think he can be a great NFL quarterback. You can also check my thread that I posted on Twitter this summer, breaking down every snap he's ever taken in the NFL. It's not that many. And explaining why I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to just make him an average quarterback. Last night, with the Colts starters and a pretty heavily scripted play sheet against the Bengals backups, he looked awful. He made a mess of himself. And it's always the same thing. I understand being excited about the cannon arm and the amazing athleticism, but when push comes to shove, the man doesn't see things, and he can't hit him when he does. That's enough talking, though. Enough staring at my beautiful face. Let's get to some film. All right, let's get this party started. The first drive ends with a touchdown, and it was heavily schemed. But I'll give Anthony Richardson his due. This first pass, pretty good. It's a very, very simple play, and it's actually one that they'll run on the first play of the next drive as well. Anthony Richardson's primary route is going to be this deep in run by Alec Pierce. The look-off route, which is kind of technically a primary, but not really, is just going to be this outside streak. And if all else fails, you slip the running back out here, you hit him in the flat. It is a 7-man protection, so Richardson should have tons of time, and on this particular play, he does. Let's clean this up and run it from the beginning. All right. It plays out exactly like we said it would. Great protection. Anthony Richardson delivers a strike. That's a nice ball. That's a solid throw. Let's watch the tight copy real quick. Look, there's plenty of separation. The ball's not placed very well, but it's accurate, catchable, and it leads to a pretty big play, 12 yards. Hey, it's not amazing, but it's an above-average play. Now, the sad thing is that's kind of the best play of the entire drive because everything else is super routine and easy. Everything is very heavily schemed up. Just getting the ball out, making throws high school dudes can. Nothing wrong with it. That's not a knock on Richardson. He's running the plays that are being called. But you shouldn't be impressed, and you shouldn't look at his high yardage total and the fact that he scored a touchdown on this drive and think, ooh, Anthony Richardson led a touchdown drive. No, Shane Steichen called a touchdown drive. Anthony Richardson didn't dramatically mess it up. I like to highlight RPOs because people love to see them. They're very pretty, and they get lots of yards, but they're actually really easy. One more time. Just look at the leverage, right? So, there's a cornerback pretty close, I guess, to the receiver, but most of you, if your hand is big enough to hold an NFL-sized football, can throw 10 yards over the middle with nobody in between you and the receiver. Super routine. And I know you can throw screens. Routine. Now, this play is going to be a little frustrating because it's a routine play, but it could have been so much more. Top of the drop, excellent protection. I want you to look at what's going on at the top of this screen. You've got A.D. Mitchell cooking his zone cornerback defender. Now, you've got a safety up here playing half field. This is cover 2. But there's a lot of room between this safety at the 10-yard line on the number and this receiver on the 20-yard line on the sideline. Lots of room, all this, to hit what we call a pot shot, made popular by Matt Stafford, which is just where you use your excellent arm strength to gun a zipping flatline frozen rope bullet pass to that receiver before he gets to the safety. So I'm going to play it in slow motion. You can see, right, this cornerback's job is not going to be to cover that receiver down the field. It's to cover anything in front of that receiver, right? He's also kind of got to be aware of the running back in the flat. So this creates an opportunity right? This cornerback's job is basically to cover this patch of grass. And this running back is coming out in the flat, so he's got to have eyes on him. That means that A.D. Mitchell is going to be uncovered in this circle. Now, that safety can get over, but he's about 7 or 8 yards upfield and about 13 yards horizontally away from him. Do a little bit of quick hypotenuse formula. Oh God, I mean Pythagorean theorem to find the hypotenuse. It's been a while since math happened. That's about 14 and a half yards away from A.D. Mitchell. That means you can gun that ball in there. It would be tough to put this ball right where that circle is. It's a small target, and you have to throw it with a ton of velocity. But A, if you're a top-notch quarterback, you hit that. And B, it's the preseason. Try some things out. Learn what you can get away with. Feature your young wide receiver who you're going to grow up with in this league if you work. Instead, he's just going to hit the check down. It's routine, and it gets a first down, and that's all nice. And it's not a bad play. It just shows that he's not seeing things properly. Right? It's not even that Anthony Richardson is making a grievous mistake. It's just that he's not taking advantage of an opportunity, and he's opting for the check down. And when you have a quarterback who's not accurate and doesn't process well and is inconsistent, you kind of have to bank on the upside hitting, right? Like if you're going to strike out a lot, you got to hit a lot of home runs. But if you're swinging for contact and striking out a lot, you're a bad baseball player. If you're not processing well and not being aggressive and you're inconsistent with your accuracy, then you're not a good quarterback. And that's exactly how I would describe Anthony Richardson right now. So after a couple run plays, the Colts are going to scheme up this really nice play where they have A.D. Mitchell move from the outside to the inside, and then he and Pittman are going to run this real fun little game. So Pittman is going to come across on a drag like yay, and A.D. Mitchell is going to kind of fake like he's going to run an in and then just run a post. And they're putting this one singular defender in conflict, right? So this defender is either going to guard the deepest man, which is A.D. Mitchell, and therefore he'll be tied up, and you can just feed this ball to Pittman. He'll get the ball at the 5, and it's a race to the end zone to split these two defenders who are distracted by the guys they're actually covering. Or, alternatively, the super pro move is that you can use your eyes to drag this defender down to Pittman, and as soon as he bites up, you just loft that ball over his head to an uncovered A.D. Mitchell in the end zone. Either way, you have exactly what you want based on this look. It should be an easy touchdown. You'll note Anthony Richardson's head never moves. He never considers it. Anthony Richardson throws the ball to the tight end on the corner the exact same way he thought he would do before he saw the snap, before he saw the defense. It was all predetermined, and then the ball was way too high. Let's see it again from the tight copy, and you can see that Anthony Richardson never once looked anywhere but that receiver. He never once diagnosed the defense, and he never read the play. Right here, you can see, as he's letting go of the ball, A.D. Mitchell is uncovered in the end zone, and Michael Pittman has inside leverage to the ball with a race 5 yards to the end zone. Now, I'm going to rewind it a little bit because I hate when people just grade, whether somebody was open, whether the quarterback made the right read after the ball has been released. But here, he's got his one hop, right? 1, 2, 3 steps backwards, one hop. That means this is where you have to decide what you're doing. And upon that hop, before the ball leaves his hand, before the tight end breaks on his corner, really, you see A.D. Mitchell and this defender locking eyes. You see Michael Pittman in the middle of the screen. Couldn't be easier to notice, couldn't be easier to see, couldn't be easier to throw to. Wide open. Let's move it up a couple frames. Right? And again, if the ball's out right now, Pittman gets the ball at the 5. He's got 2 yards to brace for contact and makes a defender miss. Or, alternatively, if you pulled the ball down right now, A.D. Mitchell's wide open in the end zone. Nobody's covering him. There's all this time. Anthony Richardson didn't think one time. He saw this play in the playbook, and he thought, oh, dope, I could just throw that corner. And he never once thought of anything else. And he threw the corner, and he threw it poorly. I'll rewind it one more time so you can see just how high this ball was. Not catchable. Now, ironically, on the very next play, they run like kind of the opposite thing, right? They're going to start off in the exact same formation they finished in on the last play, except now they're going to move Pittman out to the outside, right? So on the last play, A.D. Mitchell came in. On this one, Pittman goes out. Same formation, just in reverse order. Now they're going to run basically a screen. Like, it's a pick play. These two receivers are basically just blocking these two defenders. The idea is A.D. Mitchell runs a flat, you get him the ball, and he turns it upfield for a touchdown. And guess what he did? Now, this was easy because, A, A.D. Mitchell's wide open, and B, Anthony Richardson never had to think, because he doesn't think. Nothing's happening in his head on any of these plays. He's looking at his first read, and it's either easy or it's not happening. Occasionally, he will check the ball down, as we saw, but unfortunately, he shouldn't have been checking the ball down in the first place. Time for the second drive from hell. They open up on the exact same play that they opened up the last drive on. Remember? If you remember 8 minutes ago, I showed you. Just like last time. First read is an in, this time by Pittman. Second read / clear out / maybe technically primary read is a streak by A.D. Mitchell, and the running back is the dump off. The problem, watch how Anthony Richardson misses this dump off. He's got a little hitch because he doesn't trust what he's seeing, despite the fact that his primary read Pittman was open over the middle of the field exactly like on the last drive. He just panicked, and he's wildly inaccurate. And if this ball were any lower, like even remotely catchable, it would have been a pick six. It's behind. It's too high. It's wobbly. It's late. It couldn't have been worse. Although it could have been more like this. On the very next play, Anthony Richardson throws a pick six. Now, we're going to have to dig into this play a little bit more because it's not quite what it seems. This is mostly just a miscommunication between Anthony Richardson and his tight end. And it's not totally fair to blame Richardson for all of it, right? Well, wrong. Let's break it down slow. So, 83, this tight end, he's going to have a few options, right? He definitely has to run this stem, but then from there, he can run an in, he can run an out, or he can even run a curl. It just totally depends on the leverage of this player covering him. Now, on this particular play, the defender is going to be kind of inside, like between the receiver and the middle of the field, and above, which means there are two possible options. Theoretically, because he's above the receiver, the curl could be a good option, right? Just sit down, hit the curl. Or because the defender is ever so slightly inside of the receiver, you could hit that out. But because of the way that the receiver's hips are turned, I mean, look at his feet, look at his hips, it's pretty clear that he's not going to be running the out, or at least isn't going to be running it right now. He's not breaking right now. So from the way that he's turned, it looks like it's probably going to be the curl. Or like a weird, tricky kind of out. Either way, Richardson's response is improper. Richardson is going to end up throwing kind of the in, and as you can see, the receiver, he starts to break out. So it's not quite the sit route that it was originally. Remember, this is basically where the receiver was before he started to spin away. Look where that ball goes. The ball is too far away for even the curl route. If it was a curl route, that ball would have been too far inside. It would have been a miss, and it probably would have landed incomplete. If it was the in, right, if he had run this route, the the ball would have been way too far this direction and therefore would have been incomplete. And obviously, because it was an out, the ball was way too far inside and therefore picked off. So yes, this is miscommunication, but it's also a bad throw and bad decision making by Anthony Richardson. Again, with the wide copy, you can see Anthony Richardson is looking at the tight end. He's kind of covered, and this is exactly where he gets tricked. This defender is actually looking at this receiver, right? He's getting wide towards the sideline. Anthony Richardson sees an orange helmet near his guy and thinks, oh, he must be running the in. But he shouldn't be running the in, because that's how 27 comes in and cracks his ass. Instead, honestly, he should have just run the sit route. Sit down in the zone, take your 3 yards, go home, bye-bye now. Anthony Richardson throws the in. Even if the receiver had never started to break out, it wouldn't have been a good throw because it would have been too far inside anyway. I could see it being bad. I could see it being interceptable. I can't see it as being excusable. Third drive, the Colts clearly want to get Anthony Richardson in a rhythm, and he comes out throwing an RPO. It's not really accurate, but it could have been caught. I'll call it routine. Now we have a third down. Your primary breaks wide open. You're in a clean pocket, and you sail it. Anthony Richardson just isn't accurate enough, especially if he's not going to read the field really, really well. That's 10 feet in the air. Simone Biles ain't touching that if she has a springboard to jump on. After a punt, we're on drive 4. This is the first pass of it. It's third down. Anthony Richardson, tons of time, clean pocket. Has the opportunity and the luxury of waiting, but he's a little early on his throw. It's ridiculously inaccurate into a very tight window and honestly a bad decision. He has the streak on the outside open. He had more time to wait to let things develop. He just missed and misfired. But as much as I've been hating, this throw is why I understand people who are excited. Because holy shit. Let's see that tight copy. This is why you get excited about a quarterback who can't hit any routine plays. Look at him fit that ball, and that is elite. The touch, the accuracy, the timing, it all had to be perfect. And it was. Excellent, excellent throw. So surely Anthony Richardson builds on this momentum, right? He keeps the drive going. He's got them on their heels. Clean pocket, top of his drop, 2 open receivers. So you're going to basically have this game on the outside to the left. Your inside slot receiver is going to run a little like flat corner, like a rounded corner, and your outside receiver is going to run a slant underneath it. Basically, you're going to catch one of these defenders slipping in zone coverage, and then you just hit the one that does the receiver that doesn't get covered. Unless, of course, you're Anthony Richardson, in which case you stare at your receivers like a deer in headlights and you don't hit either of them, despite the fact that both are technically open. Again, clean pocket, no reason to bail just yet. Open receiver lofted over this number 43's head at the bottom of the screen. Instead, he bails. He doesn't know what to do. He's not seeing anything. He has no idea that the guy is coming on his backside. Whoops, didn't mean to say it like that. And he takes a bad sack and fumbles. That is just as bad as an interception, arguably much worse. Let's see again the tight copy. Let's watch his eyes. Right? He's looking directly at the 2 receivers who are his primary read. It's a 1-2 read. Pick one of your receivers and throw it. He hesitates. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He doesn't like what he's looking at. He bails. And again, he bails because he sees the front side pressure and runs directly into the front side pressure, which is a choice, certainly. He never notices the blind side defender looping. That's why he just has the ball out here hanging. That's why he never notices or minds the defensive end who's about to slap him in the wrist, cause him to fumble, turn the ball over, and get sacked. Terrible, terrible play to cap a terrible, terrible day. We did see one amazing throw But other than that, it was a lot of underwhelming. I guess I was a little presumptuous. We have one more bad play displaying terrible processing. I want you to look at the pocket that Richardson's bailing from. It's pretty damn clean, right? There's plenty of room for you to hang out in there at 6'5", 240. You also have a receiver breaking in, open. You also certainly have a receiver to your left. Upfield leverage, throw that go ball. You're supposed to be a cannon-armed gunslinger. What are you doing? Instead, he's going to roll out of the pocket because when in doubt, he likes to run. He's never going to notice that because he's run, he has a streak over the top to the short side of the field that's come open. He is just going to pull the ball down and run. He sees himself as a tight end, not a quarterback, when he starts to move, and I understand. He runs directly into players on 3rd and long, taking what amounts to effectively a sack, deciding he's just going to punt. This is a negative run. This is poor processing. This is genuinely bad mental quarterbacking. He looks at 2 reads, both of which are working, doesn't like it, and runs anyway. And it doesn't work because he's not a man amongst small children like he was in high school or maybe at Florida, but honestly, he wasn't really very good at Florida. There's a reason he didn't win or put up stats or really maximize the talent around him at Florida. And we think he's going to do it in the NFL. How and why? Because fun. One preseason game, hell, one regular season game, does not define a player's career. And it certainly can't tell you everything you need to know about his trajectory and how he'll progress. Hell, Josh Allen did get a lot better, but Josh Allen is the exception, not the rule. And despite the fact that Anthony Richardson is a freak athlete with a cannon of an arm, and he can hit gorgeous balls like that seam pass we highlighted earlier, he takes bad sacks, he fumbles, he throws the ball to the other team, he misses over his players' heads when they're wide open. And Shane Steichen's a brilliant offensive coordinator who makes things easy on him, but Anthony Richardson's failing the easy things too. And if you're going to be a dink and dunk quarterback like Justin Herbert was in Joe Lombardi's regressive offense, or Peyton Manning was with Adam Gase, you got to be perfect. You don't have room for mistakes. And Anthony Richardson is a mistake-prone guy. Maybe it's because he's raw. Maybe it's because he hasn't played that many games. Maybe it's because he's young. A lot of quarterbacks been young. A lot of quarterbacks been raw. Not a lot of quarterbacks have gotten substantially better once they got to the NFL relative to competition. Anthony Richardson was bad against college players. He couldn't put up good numbers, and he didn't look particularly good or impressive on the field either. It's not like he didn't have talent around him. Ricky Pearsall is a first-round pick who's about to be a starter on the NFC champion 49ers. It's just that Anthony Richardson wasn't very good, but he was enticing because of all that skill, or because of all that talent, a total lack of skill. If a player's not good in college, despite ridiculous physical tool sets, he's probably not going to figure out how to be good in the NFL because the physical tool set is a less of an advantage and everybody else is getting better every day. Frankly, I don't see a path to success for Anthony Richardson, but I've been wrong before, I guess. Anyway, until next time, I'm going to keep grinding film, or at least praying for some film to grind, because I miss doing this every week. Holding our breath until week 1. Asta.